Her touch was like a guide through this uncharted territory, each caress a question, each response from me an answer. The room seemed to shrink around us, the world outside irrelevant as we surrendered to the moment. Lana's hands moved with a rhythm that was both natural and forbidden, our bodies finding a dance that was both shocking and exhilarating. I felt the warmth of her body. The familiar scent of her was now charged with a new intimacy. Each touch was a step further from the mother-daughter relationship. We had known into something else, something more complex. The act was filled with an intimacy that was both shocking and beautiful. A secret shared in the quiet sanctuary of our living room. Lana's breath was warm against my skin. Her whispers are a mix of encouragement and desire. "Feel this, Ivy. Feel us," she murmured. And with each word, I felt the boundaries of our relationship dissolving, being replaced by something raw, something primal. Her touch was both a comfort and a challenge, a bridge between the love I had always known for her and this new forbidden form it was taking. The intimacy was not just about the physical act, it was about the emotional connection, the understanding that we were sharing something unique, something that would forever alter the dynamics of our relationship. I felt her breath, her warmth, and there was an emotion, a connection that transcended the taboo. There was a moment when I looked at her, really looked at her, seeing not just my mother, but a woman seeking connection, seeking to fill a void. Her eyes were wide, a mix of excitement and fear of love and the realization of what we were doing. It was in her eyes that I saw the innocence of her intentions, the pure desire to be close, to be needed, even if the method was wrong. I responded to her touch, my body moving with hers, not out of desire in the conventional sense, but from a need for connection, for love in any form. The act was filled with an intimacy that was both shocking and beautiful. I felt her need, her comfort in my presence, and it was a revelation. A moment where I saw Lana not just as my mother, but as a being with deep emotional connections, with needs as profound as any human's. As we continued, the room seemed to hold its breath, the world outside, our little bubble forgotten. This was a moment of intimacy, of understanding where the lines between right and wrong, mother and daughter, were blurred by the strength of our bond. There was an odd sense of rightness, of fulfilling a role that was as ancient as life itself, of being part of a cycle of care and comfort. I felt a profound sense of being needed, of being there for her in a way no one else could, that transcended the norms of human relationships. I whispered to her words of comfort and love, not just for her, but for the moment, for the bond we were strengthening. "It's okay, Lana. I'm here for you," I murmured, my voice a soft lullaby in the quiet room, a reminder that this was born from love, from a need to be close, to be there for each other. The act, while primal, was filled with an intimacy that was both shocking and beautiful. I felt her need, her comfort, in my presence, and it was a revelation, a moment where I saw Lana, not just as my mother, but as someone seeking love, seeking to be understood in ways I had never considered before. As the night deepened, I reflected on the implications of this acceptance. It wasn't just about one moment. It was about the days, the weeks, and the months ahead. How would this change our daily interactions? How would I reconcile this with my own sense of morality? The questions were endless, but there was also a sense of peace of having made a choice from a place of love, not from a place of darkness. Lana's touch was both comforting and electrifying, her body warm against mine, her breath hot, the sounds of our breathing sinking in this moment of connection. It wasn't about lust in the human sense. It was about fulfilling a need, about providing comfort, about love in its most basic instinctual form. The room was silent, filled with the sounds of our breathing, each breath a testament to the complexity of our bond. There was no sound from the world outside, no reminder of the norms we were breaking here in this cocoon of darkness. Our actions were ours alone, a secret that would forever bind us in ways we couldn't undo. I felt a connection with her that went beyond the mother-daughter bond into something darker, more primal, yet undeniably real. The intimacy was not just about the physical act, but about emotional intimacy, about finding solace in the arms of someone who loved me, even if the love was now taking a form that was taboo. The room, which had seemed like a private sanctuary, now felt exposed, the air charged with a different kind of tension. I felt a rush of emotions, fear, embarrassment, and guilt, but also a strange sense of excitement of being caught in an act that was both forbidden and exhilarating. Lana and I froze, our bodies still entwined, our breaths caught in our throats. The silence was deafening. The only sound, the heavy breathing from our exertion, and the echo of John's shock. His eyes were wide, darting between us, trying to make sense of what he was witnessing. I could see the conflict in his gaze, the struggle between the instinct to flee and the curiosity about what he had stumbled upon. His presence was a reminder of the world outside our intimate moment, a world that would never understand, would never accept what had transpired between Lana and me. Lana was the first to move, slowly detaching herself from me. Her movements were careful, almost protective. She sat up, her expression shifting from one of intimacy to one of control and composure. "John," she said, her voice steady, trying to reclaim some authority over the situation. Jay's initial shock seemed to give way to anger, or perhaps it was just confusion. "What are you doing?" he asked, his voice raising a demand for explanation or justification for what he had seen. I felt a surge of protectiveness, not just for myself, but for this new complex bond between Lana and me. I sat up too, feeling the cold of the floor beneath me, a stark reminder of how far we had strayed from normal. "John, it's complicated," I started, my voice trembling with the weight of our secret. But before I could continue, before I could try to explain or rationalize, Lana took over. "This is not what it looks like," she said, though her words felt hollow given the undeniable reality of the situation we were exploring. John's laugh was sharp, a mix of shock and disbelief. "Exploring? This isn't some science experiment, Mom. This is wrong on so many levels." His words were like knives cutting through the intimacy we had just shared, bringing us back to the harsh light of societal norms. The room felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in with the weight of our actions and his judgment. John's presence was a reminder of our reality of the world, that would judge, that would condemn, but it was also an opportunity, a moment where our family could redefine itself, could navigate through this new complex terrain together, or fall apart under the weight of societal norms as we sat there, the tension palpable. I knew we had to talk to confront this moment to decide if this secret would be the end of us, or the beginning of something new, something different. The door had opened literally and metaphorically, and now we had to choose how to move forward together or apart. I looked at him, caught between embarrassment and an odd sense of excitement. There was a moment, a heartbeat, where everything could have changed, where the world could have returned to normal. Instead, I found myself saying, "Join us, John." It was an invitation into this forbidden territory, a challenge to him, to us all, to explore this new dynamic. The air was thick with tension, the silence after Jay's exclamation still hanging heavy. His presence had turned our intimate sanctuary into a stage for confrontation, or perhaps something else entirely. I could see the turmoil in his eyes, the battle between shock, anger, and an undeniable curiosity. My heart was racing not just from the shock of being caught, but from the realization of what I was about to do, what I was about to suggest. The words were out before I could fully grasp their implications. "Join us." "John," the room seemed to hold its breath, the invitation hanging in the air like a dare. It was as if I had tossed a stone into a still pond, watching for the ripples, waiting to see if they would sink or spread. My voice had been soft, almost a whisper, but the words carried the weight of our secret, now potentially expanding to include another. John's reaction was not immediate. He stood there, his gaze shifting between Lana and me, trying to reconcile what he had seen with what he was being asked to do. His initial shock morphed into something else, confusion perhaps, or a flicker of interest. His eyes flicked back to me, searching for any sign that this was a guest moment of madness, but what he saw was my resolve, my curiosity, my invitation into something he could never unsee, could never undo if he chose to accept. I saw him swallow his Adam's apple bobbing in the dim light, a physical sign of his internal struggle, his hands clenched and unclenched at his sides, a testament to the battle within him. Was he considering it? Was he weighing the shame, the taboo, against the allure of the forbidden? Lana's voice finally broke the silence. Her tone is low and persuasive. "It's just us here. John, no judgments, just exploration." Her words were like a melody, soothing the shock, inviting him into the complexity of our bond. Her hand reached out, not to touch but to offer to show that this was his choice, his moment to either join or walk away. John looked at her hand, then at me, his eyes seeking some kind of reassurance, some sign that this wasn't madness. I nodded slightly at my own emotions. A tumult, but my intent is clear. "It's okay," I whispered, my voice a mix of encouragement and plea. "We're all in this together." The invitation was more than just words. It was an acknowledgement of our bond, our family now potentially reshaped by the secret. It was about expanding our circle of trust, of understanding, into something that society would never accept, but that we might come to redefine as love in its most unconventional form. The room was silent once more, but now it was filled with the potential of what could be of the new connections we might forge. I felt a rush not of fear but of exhilaration at the possibility of this becoming not just a secret between two but a bond among three. "Join us." I repeated this time with more conviction, my eyes locked with his, showing him that this was not just about physicality but about a journey into understanding, into love that transcended norms. John's nod was slight, almost imperceptible, but it was there, a silent agreement to step into this new world with us. His hand tightened around Lana's, and I felt a surge of emotions, relief and excitement, but also a profound sense of responsibility. We were about to navigate uncharted waters together, and there was no turning back from this point. The invitation had been accepted, and with it, our family dynamic had shifted into something new, something complex, something that would forever alter the fabric of our relationship. We stood there, the three of us on the precipice of this new bond, ready to explore the depths and heights of what love could mean when freed from conventional constraints. John stood there, his eyes wide, his body language shifting between retreat and curiosity. Lana, sensing the shift, moved closer to him, her voice soft and persuasive. Lana was like a beacon in this storm, her presence both comforting and commanding. She moved with the grace of someone who knew the power of her words, of her presence. "John," she said, her voice now a gentle coax, "this is about understanding what love can be outside of what's expected." Her words were not just an invitation, but a challenge to his understanding of family, of love, of boundaries. I could see it in his eyes, the flicker of interest battling with the ingrained societal norms that screamed against this act. I felt a surge of protectiveness, not just for the secret Lana and I shared, but for this moment where our family could either fracture under the weight of this revelation or grow into something new, something untested. I stepped slightly closer, my voice joining Lana's in this delicate dance of persuasion. "We're not asking you to change who you are, John. We're asking you to explore who we can be together." The tension in the room was palpable, almost a physical thing that we could all feel pressing against us. John's hands were now at his sides. His fist unclenching was a sign of his resolve beginning to waver. His breathing was deep, measured as if he was trying to anchor himself in this moment to make a decision from a place of calm rather than chaos. I watched as his gaze softened, his eyes meeting mine, seeking some form of reassurance, some sign that this was not just about crossing a line, but about stepping into a new realm of connection. I gave him a small, encouraging smile. My own heart was a mix of fear and exhilaration at what we were proposing. Lana reached out again, her hand hovering near his, not touching but offering an open invitation. "No one else needs to know, John. This is just us here now," she said, her voice carrying the weight of secrecy, of shared experience. John's eyes lingered on her hand, the symbolism not lost on him. The choice was his. He could take it and step into this new world with us, or he could turn away, preserving the boundaries as they were. His breath hitched, a sign of the internal battle reaching its climax. He looked at me again, his expression one of searching, of questioning. I nodded my eyes, communicating my own curiosity, my willingness to explore this together. "It's okay to be curious," I said in my voice, a whisper meant to bridge the gap between him and this decision. The room felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for John's next move. It was as if time itself had slowed, each second stretched out, giving him the space to make this monumental decision. Then, almost imperceptibly, John's hand moved, his fingers brushing against Lana's, a touch that spoke volumes. It was not just acceptance, it was a leap of faith into the unknown. His touch was hesitant at first, a question wrapped in a gesture, but then it became more firm, a silent agreement to join this journey. Lana's smile was one of triumph, not over John but with him. For him, it was a smile that said welcome without words. She gently took his hand, guiding him closer, not just physically but into this new understanding of our bond. I felt a mix of emotions, relief, a thrill of the forbidden, and a profound sense of wonder at how this moment would change us. John stepping forward was not just about physical proximity, it was about emotional and psychological closeness, about expanding our circle in ways none of us had imagined. Jay's voice was soft, almost a whisper, as he spoke. I don't understand this. But his words trailed off. The complexity of his emotions was evident in his hesitation, but his actions spoke louder. His body language shifted from one of retreat to one of cautious exploration. Lana, sensing this, spoke with a voice full of understanding. You don't have to understand it all now, John. What matters is that we're here together, willing to learn, to explore. The room was now charged with a different energy, one of shared anticipation, of curiosity mingled with the comfort of family. We were no longer just siblings, just mother and children. We were explorers in a forbidden land. Bound by this act, this secret, JN took another step. The room, once a place of shock and confrontation, now felt like a sanctuary of possibilities where the norms of the world outside did not apply. We were creating our own rules, our own understanding of love and connection. His decision was palpable, like a physical shift in the air around us. Lana's hand still holding his was a guide, a bridge into this new territory we were all about to cross together. I felt a surge of emotions, excitement, fear, a sense of unity, and a profound connection. Here we were about to redefine our family, to explore a bond that society would never condone but that we were choosing to embrace. Jay's presence added a new layer to this intimacy, turning it into something dynamic, something evolving. Lana's eyes met mine, a silent acknowledgement of what was happening, of the journey we were all embarking on. She then turned to JN, her expression one of gentleness and understanding. She whispered, her voice carrying both invitation and reassurance. She led him down beside us, the floor now a canvas for this new complex dance of intimacy. Jay's movements were hesitant, each step a testament to his internal conflict, his curiosity battling with years of ingrained societal norms. But as he sat, the closeness of our bodies seemed to dissolve some of that hesitation, replacing it with a shared sense of exploration. The room was quiet, safe for our breathing, which seemed to synchronize in this moment of unity. The scent of intimacy, once just between Lana and me, now encompassed JN, wrapping us all in this forbidden embrace. It was as if the air itself was complicit, keeping our secret, our bond. Lana guided John, her touch now on both of us, creating a circle of connection. Her hands moved with intention, a mix of comfort and command, showing us how to navigate this new dynamic. Feel this, she urged, her voice a soft command. Feel us together. I watched as Jay's initial discomfort gave way to curiosity, his eyes meeting mine, seeking understanding or perhaps forgiveness for stepping into this forbidden territory. I nodded my own emotions, a mix of encouragement and curiosity. It's okay, I whispered, my voice a bridge between his hesitation and acceptance. Together we moved, our actions a dance of exploration, learning what it meant to be connected in this new way. Lana was the guide, her touch both familiar and new, navigating us through this experience. Each movement was deliberate. Each touch was a lesson in this new form of intimacy. There was an odd sense of rightness in fulfilling a role that was as ancient as life itself, of being part of a cycle of care and comfort. The silence was profound, filled with the weight of our shared secret, our unspoken understanding. His tone a mix of wonder and confusion. We need to talk about this, he said, his words floating in the air, heavy with the implications of what had just happened. The room felt different now, the charged atmosphere of intimacy giving way to a more reflective, contemplative silence. The TV, which had been a mere backdrop to our actions, now seemed to mock us with its silent, flickering images. We sat up. The coolness of the floor was a stark reminder of the reality we had to face. Lana was the first to respond, her voice calm and measured, as if she had anticipated this moment. this conversation. Yes, we do, she agreed, her eyes scanning between John and me, seeking the words that would bridge our actions with understanding. I felt the weight of our secret, the knowledge that this was something we could never share, never discuss openly. It was ours, a bond that now included this forbidden act, this intimate connection that was both beautiful and terrifying in its implications. John looked at me, his gaze seeking something, perhaps reassurance, perhaps an explanation for the whirlwind of emotions he must have been feeling. I reached out my hand, finding him a gesture of solidarity of shared experience. I know I said my voice was soft. This is a lot. We rearranged ourselves, sitting in a loose circle. The physical act was over, but the emotional journey was just beginning. The intimacy had ended, leaving in its wake a silence that was both comforting and suffocating. We were side by side, our breathing sinking, a physical reminder of the connection we had just shared. Yet there was an undercurrent of guilt, of confusion, of the realization of what this meant for us. Lana took ending his need for connection, for being seen. We agreed to have more of these talks to ensure our bond was nurtured through communication and through shared experience of our relationship. I felt a responsibility not just to care for them in the physical sense, but to nurture this bond, this understanding that had now taken on a new, more complex dimension. As I lay there, the night stretching into morning, I knew this was not the end, but a beginning. An acceptance of what had happened, of what it meant for us, was the first step in navigating this new chapter. I would love them, protect them, and ensure their happiness, even if it meant carrying this secret, this unconventional form of love, with me forever. It was our story, our unique journey into the heart of companionship, where love was defined by care, by comfort, by an unspoken promise to be there for each other no matter what.